Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Horizon Live with Oculos 410. And now your host, Oculos 410.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Woo! Everybody please make a lot of noise because we're having a great time today. We're going to be checking out our launcher competition winners. Y'all excited?
Yes.
Heck yeah, this is an exciting time because this is the second competition that Horizon put together. Please welcome my guests for today. We have Space Turtle, Ashes to Ashes, Miles, and Matthiaos.
Yeah.
Welcome. It's so great to have y'all here. Have you ever been on a talk show or on any of these YouTube channel premieres?
I've been in a podcast before, but not related to VR. And
Very cool.
But this is my first VR thing.
So Ashes, I know you're familiar with the Facebook Connect.
Yes, I've been on Tea Talk with Phoenix and had a good time there. But yeah, I'm familiar with VR couches.
Very cool.
It is. This is in VR specifically. Yeah, I have way too much experience on podcasts as a entirely average white guy. I've started like a million podcasts and never finished them. So, but in VR, this is my first time being interviewed. I'm usually the interviewer, so I'm excited.
Well, we're gonna attempt to finish this before you disappear. So we'll skip over to Matt.
Yeah, this is my first time being interviewed here, so yeah, super excited.
Awesome. Well, welcome. What did you think of the competition? When you first saw this announced, did you just want to dive right in and submit something, or were you kind of reluctant?
Yeah, actually, so the moment I was waiting for this to, release, they said that they were going to do a launcher competition, or they were going to do a competition, and I had some things on the back burner that I was like, I'll use this, and then they said it was a launcher competition, so completely threw me. I was thrown off by that. I had no idea what am I going to do, and but I knew I was gonna jump right into it, whatever it was.
Would you say that you wanted to hop right in?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was waiting for the chance for a competition, and I was on vacation actually, and I couldn't really work on anything, but I did meet Ashes, and we were working mostly on the last week, like intense creation, and it was really fun.
Tell me about that collaboration with Ashes. How did you two get together on this idea?
There's Facebook groups that are, centered around, creators hooking up and linking up. There's the Horizon Creator community as well as the Women in Horizon community. And I just so happened to ask Paige to put out like a call of people who are interested in doing the competition, but maybe they need help in some type of way. And so that's how we kind of like got established as a connection. And then from there, we made this awesome launcher that won.
That's fantastic. Shout out to the Horizon Creator community and the Women in Horizon, both amazing communities. They are featured in the tours world. So if you are looking for communities, those are two fantastic communities, and they are all about building people up, making sure that you can find help. I mean, they're just incredible resources. So please check them out.
I mean, it's kind of the same story again, right? Like I knew about the competitions. I was kind of ready to go, but it's funny because in my head, for some reason, like they'll want a world or a game, and I'd been working on some stuff, right? And then they announced the launchers, and I'm like, oh, because I was working on some parkour stuff or whatever. So like that's not this at all. But the funny thing is, the first thing I ever made in Horizon, I hopped in, I was playing around, I wanted to use this to make some stuff because I needed some creative outlets, and the first thing I ever built was a guitar that played music. And that was my goal. And it took way too long. And I watched a million Vidyuu tutorials and I figured it out. And after I finished my guitar, I was like, man, someday it would be awesome if I made a version of this that could like, cast spells. And then I never did anything with it. So when I heard the launcher competition thing, I was like, oh, this is the chance. Like it was the motivation I needed to go back to an old idea, right? Which was exactly what I needed. So I'm very grateful.
Hey, that sounds like it was right on time for all of y'all. So that's fantastic. I'm very curious about this slingshot because I was super impressed with how it worked and everything that you added into it. Now, when I heard about the idea and I saw the video, I was totally taken back by how much you put into it to really make it feel realistic.
So me and Ashes were in the Women in Horizon event related to this competition, and I thought about the idea in the event, and then I just talked to her about it, and we just went for it. Like, I didn't think about the whole idea. I thought about it and the idea that I want to like make a launcher with paint, like splashes of paint, but I
Mhm.
didn't know exactly how it's gonna be. Then I went to look for YouTube videos to see all kinds of references for like real world. So how people take balloons and smash them on walls, or take water balloons and make like slingshots, and thought that the splatters would be cool. So the splatters actually don't look like real paint, but they're like kind of figurative in a cool way. There were all kinds of other ideas that came along. I think Utterly Otter thinking about the trail of paint, right?
So
Yeah.
Utterly Otter was
And
at that event as well, and she threw that out there as a gift to the people in attendance. She says to consider that concept and see how to incorporate that into a launcher.
That's so cool.
yeah, we just started with an idea and then it just rolled, to what it was at the end.
Yeah, and it's great because I've seen water balloon and balloon worlds. I mean, we've got Pop Pop that you actually have to pop the balloons. We have Up where you use the balloons as like a water balloon fight and you have to kind of just throw them at people. But this launcher really did add a new level to it, and everything into it is just incredible. So thank you for that. Miles, I want to ask you about this guitar. Now, you said that you had basically a guitar, you were planning on making it playable, and then when the launcher competition came about, you kind of were just motivated to make it work. But how did you get from guitar that didn't work and you kind of were just not getting anywhere with it to this incredible launcher that has spells? Like, tell us all about that. Where did this idea come from?
Yeah, so like the first inspiration months ago for and guitar was simply that I went into the sound effects that were available to us as Horizon creators, and I saw that there were guitar chords, and I'm like, oh, and I knew nothing at that point. And I'm like, okay, you could make like, oh, when you enter a trigger, you play this chord sound, right? And that was the basis. So I started building and I started trying to make it work. And the first thing I found out was your hands are too big, right? Like your hands are bigger than they are. So to put your hand on a fretboard doesn't work. And so I was troubleshooting a lot in terms of like, well, how do I make it more exact? Because I wanted to feel like when your hand's in the right fret, the right chord plays. Use distance from. And so it turns out that while the trigger size is way too big, distance from seems to work like just from the center of your hand. So when I say like, okay, when distance from guitar is less than this Swiss Boolean, right? The whatever, and then when this Boolean is true, play A minor, right? And then it turns out with a bunch of extra also different work, I get my A minor chord. In terms of making it a launcher, I struggled for a bit because my original guitar wasn't built to move. It would float in front of you. You would strum while your hand was in the place, and it felt like kind of like playing a guitar. But in order to be able to move around, for it to be a launcher mechanic, you needed to be able to bring it. So I'm like, okay, you'll have to be able to grab it. And so one thing that I wanted to do is instead of having it be like while you're grabbing it, pull the trigger, I made it literally you can push any button. You can pull the trigger or A or B and it'll play. Because to me, then it feels more like you're finger picking a guitar as opposed to using a guitar shaped gun. Because that's what I wanted to steer clear of. So once I had the guitar playing, that was all step A or step one. And then step two was how do I make this a thing? And that had its whole separate venture because I did an entire build that I didn't end up submitting where it was way simpler. It was just every chord has a spell effect. And I thought that's kind of cool, but it ended up feeling like a guitar shaped gun that had 5 different shaped bullets. So I wanted to make it so the idea popped into my head. They're like, hey, what if you had to play a chord combination, like a chord progression of 3 chords to cast a spell? And I'm like, that'll be too tough before the competition's done. I can't do that. That'll take too long. And so I kept putting it off, and I perfected the one version. And then I go to sleep one night, and I can't sleep, and I'm laying in bed, and all the script pops into my head, the whole thing. And I'm like, oh. And I get out my phone and I write it in my notes app so I don't forget. And the next day, I pull out my notes app. I'm like, okay, it still makes sense, so that's good. And I script it in Horizon, and it takes like 20 minutes because I've written the whole script already. And I have a working prototype of play 3 different chords. It lights up the orbs 3 colors, and if they're the right color, you cast the spell. And I was like, this isn't a guitar shaped gun. This is a game mechanic, and I was very pleased. So that's the story of my guitar.
No, that's fantastic. That is a great story, and I love the progression of it, because that's something that this competition has really done. And in some people's cases, you had something on the back burner that you just were struggling with, and it motivated you to just go and take it that step further and complete it. So that's a really awesome story. And I love how you Ashes and Space Turtle collaborated inside of the group and came together to make your amazing slingshot. So Matt, down to you. I mean, the idea.
Yeah, my first idea, I don't even remember what my first idea was for the whole thing. It came to me one day at work, because I've got some time to think while I'm at work. And I was thinking about, this launcher, and I don't want to make a gun. I kept thinking to myself, I don't want to make a gun. I got to steer clear of that. I feel like we need to step outside the box. These competitions, they don't want us they're giving us examples, but they're like, this is what you could do. Now,
Right.
What can you do? We already know what we can do with it. We want to see what else can be done. And so, yeah, I kept thinking, like, what shoots something. So I thought of, like, I remember a fountain. I worked with another collaborator on his. We'd talked about it. Like how it looks like you could make rain with it. That was Skitter. And then there was a couple other ideas I came up with. And the last one I was thinking, I was like, man, what if I shot like the water out of the ground? And then I thought, well, that's sort of like a hopping motion. And the day before, I'm in a group chat with a couple people that are here, including yourself, and a couple people had posted pictures of their rabbits. And I thought, wow, like a rabbit sort of does that hopping motion. So that's where it came from, and just it evolved from there, from a rabbit to a frog does that. Birds sort of do little hops along the ground. And it just kept going, and I'm like, man, there's so much you can really do with this mechanic. Being able to put anything you want into this launcher group, as long as you do it properly, you'll you take the other one out, drop whatever you have in. You can make a jumping table. You just get it in the launcher group and change a couple settings. I made the settings super easy to work with, and
Yeah, and you don't just have the bunny rabbit. You actually have a couple of different animals in there.
Yeah, so I did like an example world that I put the door in my launcher world, because I know we are only supposed to submit one asset, so I chose the rabbit, but I put a door in there that showed off the other ones I had made to sort of give examples of what can be done. And yeah, they all, I think the bird was my favorite, but I didn't have it working exactly how I wanted it to. And the rabbit had the most time spent on that. So I decided to submit that one.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Matt. I want to take this moment to start shouting out some people, because I know that everybody on this stage more or less had somebody that was either collaborating or kind of giving some motivation, or maybe just bouncing ideas.
There are 3 people who helped us in certain points. One is John McClay.
The John
one
McClay.
is J Stack. I think it's 424. And
cool.
Tellus.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I had a couple people that brought a lot of like support, moral support, and idea bouncing. So first off, Treviso in the crowd, one of my great friends here in Horizon. He helped out a lot, just coming in, taking a look at it, and I'd say, what do you think? Is this good? And the first thing he said is, this is delightful. And that brought to my mind that one of the categories was the delightfulness, how delightful it is to use. So that pushed me on to work a little harder on it. Yeah. And then Skitter and I were working on his weather machine. and we had I was trying to keep my idea real secret. Only Treviso knew about it. And I said, you know what, Skitter, come on in, check it out. Let me know what you think. He gave me some feedback on it. Like, the rabbit was sort of, at first it was just jumping randomly in a different direction, and it didn't move. And so he said that's jarring. And so I worked on getting that fixed. And then I'd come up with an idea and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I'd talk to him and say, I don't know how to do this. I'm thinking I could do like this and like that. As I talk it through, I come up with the idea. So he, like I said, he was sort of like a sounding board for me to just figure out my ideas. And then when I couldn't figure out Raycast, both of us got in and he said, I don't know how to use it. I said, let's just get in and put a gizmo and we'll both try and figure how to use Raycast. And within like 15 minutes, without watching any Vidyuu videos or anything, which we probably just should have done that. Without watching those, we figured it out. And so just the support amongst the community, everybody pushing me to, keep doing it as I was showing it off to them and telling me how great it was. And I really can't thank you guys enough.
Fantastic.
Yeah, two people mainly, and that is, well, three actually, because like I said, I wouldn't have been able to do it without making my guitar, and that thing was built off of Vidyuu tutorials. So I'm gonna shout out Lakes on that one.
Vidyuos.
But also, my so it wasn't used in any of the like the scripts or any of the like mechanics of the guitar itself, but just aesthetically, I thought it'd be cool to have a functioning guitar strap. And Sandwich was kind enough to let me use the IK script, which he's offered out there for the strap. So shout out to Sandwich for his IK script for doing that. And also a friend of mine, Taco Sun King in Horizon, but Ray in real life. He shot some footage for me and he edited my video, which was a godsend because I'm a terrible editor. So help me, because I didn't see the 2-minute addendum. I thought I had to talk about it all in 1 minute and I was speeding through. So I needed an editor for that. So big shout out to Ray as well.
Awesome. Did a great job on the editing too. Was that your voice or was that someone else who was talking?
Yeah,
it sounded different.
I was doing like a welcome to a Bard's instrument, into the launches competition. I was trying to like be clear and wizardly, and
somebody just stole his headset again. Did you hear that? There's a whole other person in the room with him. That's fantastic. Oh, that's great. So thank you for those shout outs. Thank you to everybody who helped and also the inspiration and the Vidyuos, the Vidyuu tutorials, stuff is Vidyuu. The next thing I want to ask, these assets that you created, do you have ideas to use these in a future world, or are you just kind of letting others go ahead and just use these assets and you're kind of working on other things?
Sure, I'll hop in here. Yeah, so I can't even imagine how many different worlds I could use that thing in. That was again one of the reasons why I went with that idea. I just thought everybody could, you got to have one world you can use it in. So I want to put it in the world. I've actually contacted the team to make sure that it was okay to do it, because I don't know what the rules are at the moment. So still waiting to hear back about that. But yeah, I'd love to incorporate it in one of my worlds, and even like hand out beta version if possible. I don't know what the rules are again, but once it gets dropped, I foresee that being used in my disc golf world. I doubt we'd put it in Pixel Plummet, but who knows? Maybe we'll have some hopping pixels that jump around.
One more bunny.
Yeah.
Bunny Plummet.
Just one more.
Yeah.
So for our launcher, we think it can be in all kinds of various worlds, like parties, all kinds of events. You can just put them around and people can just play with each other, like without even like an actual game, just have fun with it. And it can be part of an actual world that is a game. And we were thinking about doing it, like creating a game like that.
It's funny you say that about it. It doesn't have to be a game. It can just be like a thing in a world. In the Tours world, which no longer is there, we had these water balloon guns, and they were very fun, but they went through you to kind of save on some of the frames, and they had the splashing sound. and people enjoyed them, but yours is so next level. It's like the fact that they actually, when they hit you, you get the paint splatter on you, but it's kind of all around you in the trail. There's so much more to it there that I love it, and I can't wait to see it in other people's worlds. Miles, I mean, you
Thank
got
you.
that amazing instrument. Are you gonna create more instruments, or is this it? You're moving on to something else?
That's tough. Honestly, the reason I went with guitar is because I play guitar in real life. But the other day I brought a guitarist into my world, and he's like, "The chords are in the wrong place." I'm like, "Yes, I know. I am aware, but I didn't realize this was going to be a thing." So my ideas for how to use this guitar and my ideas for instruments in general are very separate. I have a lot of ideas in terms of making a way better guitar specifically, because I have this idea in terms of music in Horizons. I love the fact that there's been actual concerts here, but I would love the idea of having a guitar in the VR space that you can play, but you can also pass to someone else, you know? My idea for the future, and if someone makes it before me, that means I get to play with it sooner. So awesome. But my guitar currently functions that you grab it with your grab button, right? And you have trigger A and B. And it occurs to me that we in Horizons have a plethora of different chord sounds that we can repitch, and one of them is a major, one of them is a minor, and one of them is a 7 chord. So logically, you could pitch those so that you could have 6 chords with my 5 fretted guitar plus open strings, and have it so you pick your chord by placing your hand A through G, and then you choose if you want it to be major, minor, or 7 by if you pull the trigger, the A or the B button. You could have virtually every chord you would need to play any song, right? So you could play whatever you want. As long as you know the chords to the song, you can play it in Horizons on a virtual instrument, and then you can pass the guitar to someone else around the campfire, and they can play any song they know the chords to. And that's what I see for instruments, which is entirely different from what I see for the Magic guitar. So
So if I'm hearing you right, when someone yells "Play Freebird," you're going to honor that request.
I'm not, but someone who knows the chords to Freebird can do it. Listen, but if you want Wonderwall, I got you. Is all
right.
I learned guitar in high school, so I'm a Hey There Delilah guitarist. I don't know.
All right, fantastic. So I do want to switch gears a little bit. Now, Matthiaos, your Pixel Plummet was featured along the same month as this launcher competition, and things have been really it's been a good month for you. Now you're on Horizon Live, you've got another show coming up, but you've published a couple of worlds now. Is this giving you any inspiration for your next world, or are you kind of just going to add that mechanic into whatever comes next, and if it fits, how do you think that you're going to use this?
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, I will put this in the worlds I've already created. Definitely, I foresee it being in a lot of the stuff that I work with, especially once I can sort of hone some of those other creatures down to work a little bit better, like the birds. I mean, I'd love to make another world, like a forest world, or maybe even a meditation world for flutters doing meditations. I'd love to have a meditation world that sort of like has like the birds are up in a tree and then they fly down and hop around a little bit, maybe.
Oh wow.
Just I don't want just this thing. I want to make it a lot more realistic. It's already got a really dumb AI to it with the raycast going on, but having it act more like a real life creature would be really beneficial. And I could just, there's so many worlds I could come up with, ideas that I could use this in.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that last part about the dumb AI and the raycast, because I was in scripting office hours with Homed, and someone asked about AI in Horizon, and Homed's answer was you could use raycast to try and detect objects and then avoid them, and that's exactly what you ended up doing. But you two didn't work together on this.
No, I must have missed that scripting session. I try to go every week, but there's during those 2 weeks I didn't go into, I mean, I did go in one time. I took one off, but I've been taking sort of time off from that. And that would have been, if I'd heard that, I probably would have had the raycast on it way sooner than like the day before I submitted it, which,
right.
Yeah, I rushed everything out once that idea came to me.
And that's what I love about this community, that all it takes is someone having the idea and saying, hey, what about if we made this happen? And then the collaboration just takes place and it becomes a reality. I love it.
Mhm.
And even if you're not even collaborating, the ideas are out there. So, try to take time to meet people, talk to them, talk about your ideas, and you never know, you might end up coming up with something amazing. Space Turtle. So this is your first published world, unless I'm mistaken. Is that right? This is your first
Yes.
published world?
Yes.
So
it
how did
is.
this feel for you, being your first published world? Were you nervous? Were you excited?
I was nervous because we had a deadline, had a really strict deadline because we started pretty late. Yeah, and the last day was kind of stressful because some stuff going on, but it all was okay at the end.
Mhm.
And I think in this competition, there is kind of like this feeling of like a rush that you feel, right? That like kind of an excitement to finish your goal. And that was a really great experience, and we didn't think we're gonna get into these like 3 top places. It's a very nice surprise.
Yeah, when those notifications came through that you placed top 3, I mean, what was going through your mind?
I was dying. So first thing, I didn't realize it was when I first read the thing. I'd like looked at the schedule because ever since I submitted, I was like, it was the longest week of my life. And I saw the 13th. I'm like, on the 13th, I will know. And the 13th rolls around. I show up in the world, and I'm like, what's happening? Why haven't they announced it yet? And then I go to a board on the world, and I'm like, the week of the 13th, and I'm like, and I deflate entirely. And then so the even longer 2 days, I wake up on it was Wednesday, I believe. I wake up on Wednesday, and I wake up, I should check my thing, and I look at my phone, and I got a notification from Facebook, and it's like, congratulations on, and it fades out, and it could be anything. It could be congratulations on your submission, you lost, or congratulations on honorable mention. I'm like, what is it? Like struggling with my phone to get it open, and I look and I see third, and I'm like, bah! I was jazzed. I
Oh yeah.
was running around my tiny New York apartment, just crazy out of my mind about this thing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was really exciting. The first thing I just sent a message to Ashes, and then I had to start a regular day job, day, which was a
Right.
little bit hard that day. I think for all of us.
I was super excited because I was able to help Space Turtle, bring this idea to life. And like you said, this was her first world. And I think that is like the best way to, break into Horizon is to win second place in the competition. So I was very excited for her.
So great. Congratulations. And Matt, when you found out that you won, I don't know if it was when we were in Vibe with Verka or before that, but you popped up and were
Yeah.
like, so I wouldn't let everybody know I won. And I'm like, I hate to be a jerk about it, but I've seen so many launchers trying to get something into tours to display, but they were literally assets in blank worlds. I completely forgot what you submitted, and then you told me, and I'm like, of course, that's amazing. So tell me about it, leading up to it, the day you found out. Tell us
Let's
about
start with the day before. So I mean, well, actually, I did the same thing. Sunday was what's going on. Monday, well, Tuesday, I'm in the plaza, and someone I knew. I hear them like come up behind me talking a little bit and like, hey Matt, and he's like, congratulations on first. And I'm like, what? And then he just runs off and is like, ha ha ha, just kidding, right? So totally
no.
Yeah. And this is the day before. So of course I'm like, what, they announced it? I got all excited. Yeah. Thanks, Eltrim, by the way.
Eltrim, yes.
Yeah, of course, Eltrim.
Of course.
I get the message from Facebook or Meta, and tells me congratulations, you won. I'm actually looking at it right now, and I was replying back like ha ha, because I thought it was somebody else joking with me, and then I realized
Marcus spam.
Yeah, exactly. So I messaged back seriously ? And then it was.
Oh, you really replied
yes,
back?
Yeah. And then they said, well, yeah, we got the message through Messenger. So we knew right away. That way we weren't. But yeah, so then I got the yes back, and I'm like, no way, I can't believe it. And then I read the message again, and it's like, you can't tell anybody until we release it. So then I have to hold this in. I couldn't even call. I couldn't call anybody. I'm like, yeah, they don't have Horizon Worlds, but it says I can't tell anybody. So, I got to hold this in, and I'm in Vibe with Verka after, like, with you guys, and I know about it. And I'm just like, oh, I got to tell somebody I can't, I got to wait. And so I'm just like giving thumbs up to everybody, you know, nobody knows why I'm like all happy giving thumbs up, but yeah. Then once I saw that they announced it, I grabbed you, I grabbed, Skitter was there with us, UK, everybody just pulled everybody together. And I was like, I got to tell you guys something. I got first. And people are
So
like, no
great.
way, you did what? And you're lying. And nope, I got it. And yeah, with the message though on my phone when I got that, I did let out a really loud like I guess it would be more of a squeal, but I would say
A squee.
my
It's a
neighbors
squee.
probably heard me, yell. Yeah, and then the rest of the day I had to go back to work and just ponder on this the whole day.
So I got to ask you,
was
outside
awesome.
of VR, does anybody have like an interesting story? Like, did you tell people, "Hey, I made something in VR and I won something," and they kind of like looked at you crazy, or were just like, "Oh, well, that's cool." Like,
Yeah. So I work at a kind of a weird company. We make miniatures for Dungeons and Dragons.
oh, cool.
And it's awesome. Like it's an amazing creative space. But like our CFO, like he doesn't really even understand what our company does. But I got in early enough that he was like the only one there, and I needed to tell someone. So I'm like, oh, hey, I got some good news, and I'm like, he's not gonna understand any of this. But so I end up telling him that, and we end up in this like 20 to 30 minute conversation about VR in general and just like how it could affect things. And I'm like, yeah, we should keep up this convo because, you know, if he thinks VR is big and then knows that I'm an award winning scripter, maybe I can, you know, get some money, make a VR world for my company. I don't know. But it was this fascinating thing of convincing this very like CFO who has no idea about any of this creative stuff, like that this is a thing, right? It was kind of delightful to do.
It was pretty nice to see how my parents are like, you know, they send it to my extended family and people that have no idea how Horizon looks like, and it's like their first time now hearing that I won this and looking at what I did, and I had to explain them that this is me in the video.
Oh, right.
And of course, they asked me why I don't have legs, so I had to tell them that anyone, like, of us do
Oh,
not.
I just
have
noticed
legs.
no one has legs. Huh. No.
Yeah. So it's, you know, in the last few years, I've been creating other stuff. My other thing is like voice experiences. So people already know me that I like create stuff and go into these competitions and show them all kinds of like videos of my creation. So people around me are pretty used to it, but VR is new for them. So now I'm going to bombard them with all kinds of VR stuff.
So parents were proud, families proud, everybody's giving you lots of kudos for what you did, huh?
Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. Do you feel that this competition kind of encouraged people more to create, or maybe it discouraged people because of the small scripting element of including local scripting, launch from projectile or raycast?
So I think the limitations helped me specifically, right? Because I had said I had some ideas going into it about what it could be, but when they gave me the limitations, it like focused me. I'm like, oh, I can do this, and I did it, which I find very helpful. Like I crave in my heart like wide open spaces to make whatever I want, but I also have attention deficit disorder. So when I'm given a wide open field, I'm like, well, what do I do? So the like those limitations are honestly what ended up helping me to focus in and create something. So in that way, I think the contest did help a lot for me personally.
Very nice. Space Turtle, what about you? You think this encouraged you to create? I mean, this was your first published world, so I feel, maybe I'm assuming here, but this definitely gave you some encouragement to create and publish a world.
Yeah, of course. I've been like playing around with other worlds, but this gave me like a specific goal. So of course this encouraged me. Yeah, and I think about the limitation that it's really beautiful how all of us got like kind of the same limitation, but they're all of the creations that were submitted was like were really creative, really different. Like I would never think about a bunny hopping when on for this competition. Really, I think it's great. I think they should make a lot of these.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it really encouraged people to, again, step outside of the box and work on things that you've never done before. I know a lot of people that never even did scripting, and then this was learning a little bit of scripting, just doing things that you aren't used to doing. And then also, making sure that you're working with collaborators, which I think this pushed for that too. That really was a big thing, is you make new friends out of this. If you can't do something, somebody else can do it.
Absolutely. And one thing that definitely came out of this compared to the accelerator, a lot of people after the fact of the accelerator were bummed that they didn't get a chance to apply. They didn't understand what the requirement was. It was a little intimidating. With the launcher, it kind of got the community really going. Like things were buzzing, people were talking, communities were teaming up, and the submissions, even though in the beginning we were kind of wondering if we were even going to have 36 submissions to get all of the honorable mentions. And it was crazy. It was like the night before, video after video after video. And I think the admin stayed up till midnight just approving posts so that way we can get all these submissions in. It was really incredible. So I'm glad to see so many people were encouraged. I myself submitted the spicy chicken nugget gun that shot the chicken nuggies. So shout out to Sassy. And it was a simple 3-line script just so that way I could participate. And I feel like this was really encouraging to the community. And I hope that they continue on with allowing people to team up, not just have one person work on one thing to submit one asset and then kind of just narrow that field. Because one thing we've shared here on Horizon Live is that it's all about collaboration. You can make a world and it can be really good, but when you collaborate with someone who has different perspective, different ideas, different skills, it just grows into this thing that's incredible. So I'm so grateful to have every one of you here. If you could have a piece of advice to give to somebody for the next competition that maybe they're reluctant to join, regardless of what it is, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's wondering if they should even participate?
Just
And we'll work our
jump
way up the
in and
couch.
do it. Like seriously, it might feel intimidating at first, but once you get started, it'll start rolling. People will be there to help you. If you need help, get in the community, ask people for help, ask Lakes, ask Oculos, even if well, maybe don't ask Oculos, but
Yeah, I
ask
was going to say, don't ask me.
Yeah. Just do it. Just jump in. Don't be afraid, because there was only 50, I think, 55 submissions, I think somebody counted. And that means they awarded all 33 of those other ones. So only a couple people didn't get it. And I feel bad. I wish everybody could have just got something out of this. Why not? It's not going to hurt. The worst thing that happens is you create something cool that you probably will use in the future.
You got it.
I guess, yeah, it took me a little bit to think of something, but honestly what occurred to me was like Horizon isn't a game. Horizon is a creation platform, right? Like you can hop in here and have an amazing time hanging out with anyone in any of these spaces, but a whole half of this platform, more than half of it, is making stuff, right? And if you're interested at all in exploring that and you want to spend your time building stuff that you think is awesome, you lose nothing by competing. There's if you're gonna make something anyway, like you got nothing to lose from being like, okay, well, I'll try making that, and you bundle it up and you submit it and you see how you do. I think if you choose to view it as just a motivation of why not to do it, then you have so much to gain and so little to lose. So I guess that's my advice.
Fantastic. Now, Ashes, you have an interesting part. You're collaborating. So perfect example. Do you have advice for people that want to just jump in and help somebody, or what's your perspective on the next competition for people who want to get involved?
Yes, absolutely. So like I said, I use the Facebook groups to kind of like put that call out, like if you want help, I'm available. We do have a lot of people in our community that already are like that. There are strong scripters out there that are willing to pitch in and help people get their ideas off the ground or teach them how to script. So basically, to mush Matthiaos and Miles's answer together, the collaboration plus having that motivation of either helping or learning something new is enough. Even if you don't win, that experience will help you further down the line. So I definitely encourage you to just try.
Fantastic. And thank you for putting out that call to help and being able to collaborate with Space Turtle. And thank you to all the people who collaborated with Matt and with Miles as well.
If it's a best advice, but this is what worked for me.
Mhm.
I didn't think about too much of what I want to make. Like my idea was pretty fast, but the process after the idea was like how to make this specific thing like the best, you know? So like I think like don't stress out too much about like your initial idea, because if you start with something, it might become like more like cooler like during the time you work on it, like because you're gonna maybe you're gonna shift, maybe you're gonna like maybe new ideas will come, but just start, do like a little bit of research, what's out there, what's like how things look in the real world, and just like imagine what you want to make, you know, like because it's like limitless kind of like we can imagine anything and just create it here, which is really amazing.
Fantastic. Great advice from everyone here on stage. Thank you to Space Turtle, Ashes to Ashes, Miles, and Matthiaos. Appreciate everybody coming out and checking out our latest Horizon Live with Oculus 410. Make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe. That way you know when our next show is coming up, because we do these a little bit random. We don't want to make it stale. We want to keep it nice and fresh. So please, please come on back to us. Check out our next show. And if you have any questions for these creators, put them down in the description. If you have ideas for somebody to be on the next show, in the comments as well. We read the comments. We always participate, and we love to hear from you. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thanks to everybody watching. I'm Oculos. I have my guests here, our top 3. Well, I guess it's not top 3 winners. It's our top 4 winners. And good night.